Hey guys, this is Carlos from Tax Code Tips, and today we're going to talk about the HEROES Act. And what we're really going to look at is the difference between the HEROES Act and the CARES Act. We're going to touch on four main things: the stimulus package, the unemployment, the student loan forgiveness, and the mortgage and rent moratorium. And the reason why is because the package has 1,800 pages. There's no way we can go through it all in this 10-minute video. So what we're going to try to do is break it down into small steps. So let's get into it. So with the HEROES Act, the main goal of the act is to be a step above the CARES Act. And the reason why is because they realized the CARES Act just wasn't enough. The HEROES Act is to come in and to give you more money to stimulate the economy. What they realized is that the money that they gave you before, that $1,200 check or the $2,400 check, most people use it to pay down debt or to save. That did not help the economy, because once you do that, it stays stagnant. If you use that money to buy groceries, use that money to pay for rent, use that money to pay for other things, you then stimulate the economy. And now that the economy is opening up in different states, this is a great time for that to happen. So the first thing we talk about is the stimulus check. Everyone loves the stimulus check. It's basically free money. Now, it is an advance of your 2020 tax return credit, which is going to be a new credit. It is not taxable, and you don't have to pay the money back. However, what happens is if you don't receive this money now, when you file your 2020 tax return, you'll receive a credit equivalent to what you should have gotten. Now, the difference between the CARES Act and the HEROES Act is that now the money is going to help out dependents. They're going to give dependents who are the age of 17 and above the $1,200. In the CARES Act, they weren't really doing that. If you were 17 and older, you were not getting the $1,200 if you were claimed on the parent's return, which really pissed off a lot of people, but it was just how the law was written. The HEROES Act comes in and becomes a hero to those individuals who are claimed on another person's return that are 17 and above, especially kids that are in college. You now get that $1,200. Now, it doesn't go to you precisely, it goes to your parents. So I could already see someone calling their mom like, "Hey mom, I know you got the $1,200, give it to me." It goes on a certain scale. If you're single, of course, and you claim a dependent, if you make over $100,000, you do not get the stimulus. If you are a head of household and you make over, I believe, $148,000, you don't get the stimulus. If you are married and a married couple and you make over almost $98,000, you don't get the stimulus. So it tends to phase out once you get over to certain income limits. But once again, the good thing is now those individuals who are 17 and older do qualify. In addition to that, they have something in there for immigrants. In the CARES Act, if you were an immigrant and you had a tax ID number, which is similar to a social, it has 9 digits, but it's not a social, it comes from the IRS, you didn't get any money. But now with the HEROES Act, if you have a TIN number and you file returns in 2018 or 19, you now qualify for that $1,200 credit, or $2,400 if you're married. It is not clear if the children have an ITN, if they still get it too. That's still kind of vague, but we now know that you, if you are an immigrant and you have a tax ID number and you filed either your 2018 or your 2019 tax return, you are definitely going to qualify for that money. So the main goal about this stimulus is to use the money. What we don't want is inflation. And what inflation means is if I go to the dollar store, I'm expecting to pay $1 on the assets or the things that I buy. Imagine going to the dollar store and having to pay $2. Imagine going to your supermarket to buy eggs that were usually $2 and now they're $5. Imagine going to buy a Happy Meal off the dollar menu and now it's $2. Inflation means that you still have the same dollar, but that dollar does not buy you the same things that you didn't have, you could have bought before. So if we don't use that money and the government is pumping trillions of dollars into the system and it gets stagnated on people putting it into their savings or people putting it into paying down debt, which is really a good thing, but in this aspect is a bad thing, you will not help the economy. It will fall and break down on the side of itself, and we do not want that. So use the money wisely. If you have to save it, save it. But if you don't, buy things. And this is probably the best time for you to start a business. So think about it. So in the CARES Act, they have a rent and mortgage moratorium. Now, the CARES Act had a 120-day moratorium for renters and for people who had a mortgage that were federally backed. And what that means is if you couldn't pay it, your landlord could not evict you and could not do a foreclosure if you had a mortgage. The HEROES Act comes in and changes that a little bit. It extends it out to a year, and it says that, hey, this moratorium, not only is it for a year, but if you have a mortgage that is backed by the federal government, Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, they cannot foreclose on you. And if you are a tenant and you cannot pay in this 1-year moratorium, your landlord cannot evict you. And I think that's very important because a lot of people, the 30% of their money goes towards their rent or their mortgage. And if you don't have the money, which is the key word, if you don't have the money to pay it, you do not have to be worried about paying it. If you do have the money to pay it, please pay it. Because think about it. If you don't pay your rent or your mortgage, after that 1-year moratorium is up, you may have to pay something. Now, it may not be the full balance, but they may put it to the end of it and you have to have something. So it's kind of contradictory of what I said before, but you may need to put some money aside to save up. So when that moratorium is over, you do have the money to spend. Unemployment really didn't change that much. So with the CARES Act, unemployment, they gave you a certain amount of days for unemployment, and they gave you this additional $600 a week. Now that $600 a week was not only for people who were on a 9-to-5 job, it was for part-time people, and it for people who are in the gig economy. Uber drivers, Lyft drivers, Uber Eats, DoorDash, self-employed, independent contractors could go on to their state website and apply for unemployment and at minimum receive that $600 unemployment benefit a week. If the HERO Act, they have now extended it out further, and so that's a really great thing. For individuals who work a 9-to-5 job, they extended it to January of 2021. If you are self-employed or a gig worker, they have extended it to March of 2021. So the only thing that the HEROES Act did is just extend the time period that you can receive that additional $600 on top of your unemployment from your state. And remember, each state is different. I'm in New Jersey. We have a really high unemployment disbursement rate, whereas in Florida is very low. So it all depends on what state you live in or what state you're applying for unemployment in, but that $600 is mandatory above the streamline of it. Last but not least, the HEROES Act really comes in for the students. And I think this is very important because last Saturday just passed, a lot of students graduated virtually of the class of 2020. Some of them graduated with a large amount of student loan debt. What the HEROES Act is saying is that we're going to come in and help you. So the CARES Act said, hey, we're going to put a little pause on your student loan. You don't have to pay it for a certain period of time. The HEROES Act comes in and goes a step further, and they say, hey, if you cannot pay your student loan debt, if you are 120 days delinquent, if you are 90 days delinquent, if you are in forbearance, if you are on a zero income driven or zero income based plan, you have the ability to forgive 10 $10,000 of your student loan interest. That's a big step in the right direction, because what it really is doing is putting more money in your pocket. Because if you don't have to pay that much in your student loan debt and it gets forgiven, you then save money. The only question that's really not written in the bill is, are they going to give you what's called a 1099-C, which is a cancellation of debt? In the past, if your student loan was forgiven and you filed your tax return, you would get a 1099-C for that amount, and you'd have to report it as income. The only way you can sidestep that is if you can prove that you were insolvent, meaning that your assets were lower than your liabilities. Meaning that if I had $5,000 in my bank account and my student loan debt was $10,000, I'm insolvent by $5,000. So this new provision that they're putting towards student loans is a great move. Hey guys, let me know what you think about this video. Put your comments down below. What have you used your stimulus check for? When you get it, will you use it or put it into savings? I would love to know. If you have any questions or comments, leave it in the comments below and I'll sure to get back to you. Thanks for listening and have a great day. Don't forget to look at our videos here and our videos over here.